Welcome to Golden Radio Theater, where we revive vintage stories.
For modern listeners. Tonight we're thrilled to bring you a full voice cast in The Boogeyman Will Get You. Written originally by Robert Bloch and first performed in 1944, this story has been adapted and revised for your enjoyment by me, your host of horror and teller of terrors, but you can just call me the Bookkeeper. Now, listen close, lock your doors, and enjoy this week's episode of Golden Radio Theater. You're afraid of the dark, aren't you? Of course you are. All these years you've spent becoming an adult and lying to everyone, pretending the fear fell out of your mind. But I know the truth. I know what you feel when the lights are dark and you hear a creak in the hall outside your room. I know the way that fear you first felt in your childhood room comes rippling up your spine. A fear that existed before you knew about murderers or thieves. You feared something else in the dark, something that took many shapes in your little imagination, but always with the same name. The Boogeyman. That's the name your parents gave it. A name to encompass every dark thing in your mind, every twisting shadow, every storybook monster. You could sense him in the room at night. On the edges of your vision, you could almost see his red glowing eyes, the twisting smile and jagged teeth. You can still hear the sound of his claws scraping the floor beneath your bed. That low voice muttering just out of earshot, where you could swear it was calling your name. You could see it, emerging from the shadows in your closet. You couldn't tell what was real and what was a nightmare, and you'd wake up screaming for your mother. Admit it, you screamed in terror. And now that you're an adult, you laugh about how silly it was for you to be frightened. You tell everyone you don't believe in such things anymore. That you left all that superstition behind in your childhood bedroom. But if that's true, why are you still afraid of the dark? Why do you still keep a light on in the living room and pretend you just forgot to turn it off? Why do you check under the bed every now and then when no one else is looking? When no one else can see that the scared little kid inside of you is still alive and terrified? I'll tell you why. Because it's true. There are monsters in this world. Evil does exist. The Boogeyman will get you if you're not careful. He has a long memory, and he never forgets a face. He won't ever forget how you looked screaming in bed as he watched from the shadows. And whether you believe in him or not, he's still watching you. Every single night. Watching and waiting for just the right moment to come crawling back out and make you scream again, except now there's no mommy or daddy to save you, just you and the Boogeyman and everything you've learned to fear since you last saw him. And that is all I have written so far. So, what do you think?
Well, I hate it because it creeps me out. Which means it's good stuff, Walter.
I swear, I don't know how you come up with this stuff, Walter. What's this for again? Is it another short story collection?
It's a collection of essays, basically just an excuse to make people hear my opinion on a dozen or so different topics and pretend it's art. I thought something on the nature of fear would be interesting, though. My audience likes my horror novels, so I figured I would turn the attention on them with this one, Make them self-reflect a little bit.
Well then, here's to facing our fears. May the Boogeyman stay in the shadows where he belongs. Cheers.
Hear, hear.
You know, Walt, I can respect your work ethic, but I swear you work too hard. I appreciate that you always make it for our weekly get-togethers, but still, you spend all your time cooped up in that cottage. I mean, aren't you due for a vacation?
No. Why do you think I rented that cottage in the first place? To keep myself cooped up so I can write without getting distracted. I mean, a book doesn't write itself after all. And besides, if I was in town all the time, I would never get anything done. I mean, every time I had the smallest amount of writer's block, I would come knocking on your door and bothering you. No, I can tell you, with confidence, every single writer is a professional at procrastination. I mean, I can avoid work like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I don't know how you do it at all. I'll stick to selling life insurance, thank you very much. Which reminds me, are you insured? Not to be morbid, but it's sort of my duty to ask.
Oh, leave him alone. I swear George would sell life insurance to a corpse if he could get it to sign the papers.
Oh no, it's all right. I really don't mind the sales pitch, especially considering all the time you two have spent listening to my writing. I know sometimes they can be terribly boring, but I appreciate you not letting it show on your face.
Boring? Oh, hardly. This one scared the hell out of me. You should give me a copy so I can read it to Nancy and try to creep her out.
Oh, don't you dare.
How is Nancy, by the way?
She's good. Graduation's in a few weeks, so she's spending all the time she can get with her friends. She's excited for college, but I think part of her's a little scared to leave. She keeps saying how she doesn't want to leave us behind, that she's going to be worried about us when she's away.
Well, that certainly sounds like her. So thoughtful, but so full of worries. She was always mature beyond her years, which is a blessing and a curse, I think. But I'm sure she'll do fine at college. She's got a good head on her shoulders.
Thank God, because she didn't get that from me.
Now, is she still planning to study journalism? I remember she was doing a lot of work with the school paper last year.
That's the plan.
Well, it's a good one. And you tell Nancy that if she has any questions I can answer or needs any writing advice, just let me know. I'm always glad to help a young writer.
Well, be careful. You might end up being the focus of a story with how suspicious she is about...
George, I think that's enough.
Oh, right. Ignore me. Beer must be getting to my head.
Whoa. Hold on. What's going on? Nancy said something about me?
It's nothing. You know how teenagers are. Don't worry about it.
No, go ahead. Oh, come on, tell me. I promise, I won't be offended. I mean, frankly, you've piqued my interest. I've never been the source of rumors before, so I'm almost excited.
Well, listen, you'll have to excuse her. She already thinks she's a little reporter, so she's looking for stories everywhere. You see, a while ago, Veronica and I were talking, and we said something about how we never see you during the daytime, out at the park or the beach or wherever. So she says.
Come on, don't leave me in suspense.
She thinks you're a vampire.
What? A vampire? Wait, seriously? A vampire? What an idea. Well, I'm glad to see she has not lost her imagination.
Kids these days will come up with the strangest things, I swear. It's all those fantasy books at the library.
Well, I'm very flattered. I mean, a rumor like that makes me sound much cooler than I really am. So, Nancy thinks I'm an ancient creature locked away from the sunlight, when in reality I'm sitting at my typewriter banging my head against the keys every waking hour.
I'm sure it's all just an excuse anyway. If you ask me, I think she may have a small crush on you. You know, the way a girl will have an obsession with a handsome history teacher. It's typical high school girl stuff.
Really? Do you have an old history teacher I should be worried about?
Oh, hush, George.
You know, Walter, I asked her why she thinks you're a vampire. You know what she said?
Tell me.
She never sees you eat.
What?
That's what she said.
And not just that. She even went around town asking questions. She went to the grocery store and the butcher to see if you ever shopped there.
Of course, I told her to knock that off, even if it's a silly notion. I don't like her running around town spreading gossip, no matter how ridiculous. And I explained to her that this is typical behavior from a bachelor. I mean, I remember being single and going out for every meal.
Until someone introduced you to seasoning and a kitchen stove.
That you did, and I am forever grateful for it.
I need to see her.
Pardon?
Nancy. I mean, I have to ask her about this. It's fascinating, and it sounds to me like the start of a great essay on the workings of the teenage brain. You know, maybe something about, I don't know, something about how storytelling can affect reality.
Oh, well, I don't know about...
Great idea. A debate between our hard-hitting little reporter and an experienced author.
Exactly, it'll be fine. Now, here, drinks are on me. There we go. Now, let's go pay your little vampire hunter a visit. Listen, I'm just saying, if I had some time to plan for this, I would have bought myself a cape to try and scare her.
You know, it probably doesn't help your case that you like red wine as much as you do.
Oh, what can I say? It's the only way to slake my ancient thirst. Nancy. Ooh, Nancy.
Oh, stop it now. Hi, sweetheart.
We were just talking about you.
Is that so?
Hey, Nancy, how are you?
Nancy, don't be rude. Mr. Volkov said hello. Now, what is that? Nancy, what are you doing?
Come on, Veronica, you've never read a vampire story? She's doing the sign of the cross with her fingers. You know, in the stories, it's the first line of defense to stop a vampire. Though it does make you wonder, does it really stop the vampire, or do vampires just not want to deal with Christians during their waking hours?
That's a good one. Now, Nancy, what have you been up to tonight? Miss Peterson next door said you just got home a few minutes ago.
Research.
This late in the evening, aren't you worried the evil spirits might snatch you up?
Don't speak about things you don't understand, Father.
Excuse you?
Nancy, that's no way to speak to your father. Now answer him properly. Where were you tonight?
Just out for a walk, that's all. Me and Billy were just hiking out by Hemlock Hill for a while.
And what happened to your scarf?
What? Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I must have lost it when I was out walking.
Well, I seem to be causing a bit of a disturbance, which was not my intention, so maybe it's just best that I head home. And before you say anything, it's all right. I'm glad I could walk you two home. It was probably a bit presumptuous me coming over here anyway. Besides, it's getting late, and I'm not as brave as Nancy is walking through the forest, so I better get back to my cottage before it gets too much later. We can all talk about this on another day.
Well, if you see any vampire, just scream for help and we'll send Nancy to come save you.
It shouldn't have bothered me, what Nancy thought. It's nothing more than the wild imaginings of a silly teenage girl, but still it upsets me. It made me wonder if she was already going around town to study my activities or lack thereof. What would she do next? I didn't have to wait long for an answer as I walked back to my cottage. Along the forest path, I saw a length of green fabric caught in a tree branch, waving in the wind like it wanted to be found. There was no doubt that Nancy had been snooping around my house, and this was doubly confirmed as I came up to my door to find a wreath of hemlock wrapped around the handle. Hemlock, a deterrent for vampires. This was going too far. I spent an uneasy night thinking about everything. What I first thought was nothing but playful imaginings was turning into a very real problem. The next day, I did my own investigation. As it turned out, Nancy had been spreading her suspicions all over town, including telling the local preacher that I didn't attend church in order to avoid the crosses, and that she had seen through my windows that I had no mirrors. Did she really think I was some ancient bloodthirsty vampire? Or were these the signs of some bizarre obsession with me? A way to get my attention? Either way, I needed to talk to her. The next evening, I started on my usual route through the woods heading into town, only to see a familiar face walking towards me on the road. Nancy!
Oh! You startled me. I didn't see you there.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. What are you doing out here?
Oh, I'm just, I have a date.
A date? With who, a squirrel? Come on, Nancy, let's be honest. You don't really have a date all the way out here, do you?
I must have gotten lost.
Well, in that case, I'll walk with you and get you on the right path.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. I'm sure I can.
Nonsense. Come on, right this way.
Mr. Volkov, I should really...
Oh, why so formal, dear? Come on, call me Walter. Now, would you happen to have a mirror?
A mirror?
A mirror, yes. I seem to have a speck of dirt in my eye. Perhaps I could borrow your compact.
Oh, of course.
Ah, wonderful. Ah, there we are. That is much better. Thank you, my dear.
But you just...
Looked into the mirror? Why, yes, I did. Handsome as ever.
But I thought...
I know, Nancy. I know you've been asking a lot of questions around town, but you could have just come to me and we could have cleared this whole thing up. As you can see, I do have a reflection, and I was able to remove the hemlock you left on my door. Oh, you silly girl. Did you really think I was a vampire? I mean, I love a good bit of fantasy as much as anyone, but this is all a bit absurd, isn't it?
I feel like such an idiot. You must think I'm a complete moron.
Oh, it's all right. Don't feel bad about this. I know just how easy it can be to convince yourself of the wildest things if you think about it too long, but I don't think you're a moron, all right? I think you're a very smart girl, a very smart, very lovely young lady. So lovely. In fact, I wish I could see just how pretty you've become, but it's so dark out here.
Honestly, I think maybe I thought up all this vampire stuff as a way to get your attention. I've been reading all these stories about vampires who are tall and dark and handsome. Just like you, Walter.
Well, I am very flattered. Now, Nancy, just tell me something. Were you really scared of me?
No, not really. I guess I was just nervous. I'm really sorry. It all seems so ridiculous, and I can't imagine what you think about me now.
Oh, don't be silly. Hey, look at me. You're a clever girl, you know that? A very clever girl. I would love to say we can just move on, but you did make quite a mess, young lady.
I'm sorry. I'll tell everyone that I was wrong. I'm really sorry.
Oh, poor thing. Well, would you look at that? The moon is rising. And now I can see you properly. I can see that lovely hair and that soft skin. I can see how small you are next to me. Oh, Nancy, 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 Nancy. I really wish you hadn't gone to the police, sweetheart.
The police? How did you...
The sheriff is an old friend of mine. He told me about this odd girl asking the strangest question, and he said she was so convincing they're actually issuing a search warrant. Isn't that upsetting? A search warrant over some silly gossip from a silly, silly little girl.
Oh, but that was all a joke, just a joke. And now I know that you're not a vampire, so I'll just explain everything to them and we can laugh about all this later.
Oh, I intend to, Nancy, but I'm afraid you won't be there to join in.
Walter, let go of me! Oh my God, what is happening? Your face! You're changing. Walter, what's going on?
Oh, silly, stupid little Nancy had to ask so many questions, and you spoiled everything, you meddling little fool. And now you know too much, so I can't let you leave.
Oh God, no, I was right. You are a vampire.
Oh, no. No, you foolish little girl. Not a vampire. Something much, much worse. Oh, little Nancy, didn't you ever hear the stories? The old wives' tales about a thing in the forest. The creature, the bloodthirsty beast. Didn't you ever hear about the werewolf in the woods?
Oh God, no. Help! Someone help!
Oh, I've gone hungry for so long. But tonight I feast. Goodbye, little Nancy. And don't worry, I accept your apology.
And so, inquisitive little Nancy learned that even being wrong can lead you so very close to the right answer. It's a shame she didn't put the whole puzzle together just a little sooner. Now she only lives on in the memories of the townsfolk, her name whispered by the campfire as they tell stories about a thing in those woods that devours kids who ask too many questions. And while the chilling chapter of Nancy may be closed, there are many more tales left to tell here at Golden Radio Theater.